What teams go into 2025 with the opportunity to say that they are a top 10 offensive line in college football? We're going to talk about some of those, well, 10 of them, as a matter of fact, and then some honorable mentions. We also have some college football playoff conversation. This is more, I don't want to say prediction based, but more who's best set up to make a run back to the college football playoff that we saw last year. Welcome to Armchair Analysis. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Thursday. If it looks like I'm wearing the same clothes, or well, shirt, you don't see my shorts. If it looks like I'm wearing the same shirt from the other day, yesterday, it's because I am. I'm recording these back to back. Hop off, okay? We're trying. Um, no, but seriously, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this top 10 series, and hopefully you guys have too. I know that not everybody's going to agree, and a lot of these opinion-based things tend to be deemed as kind of a clickbaity thing. But I do thank you guys for tuning in and spending your time here, commenting, letting me know what you guys think. It's been super appreciated so far in this series. I'm grateful for it, and I'm hoping you guys will stick with me because we got all the defensive positions coming up in the next week and a half as well. Then we lead into the final week of May. I don't really know what I got planned for that yet. But what I do know is that June 1st, we open up with season previews. And it all gets started with Florida State of the ACC. We are going reverse order of finishing in the standings for each conference. It'll be ACC, Big 12, Big 10, SEC, repeat up until we finish all 67, to include Notre Dame, who will be done kind of on their own in a sense. What I mean by that is they'll kind of get their own thing before we get to Ohio State, who will ultimately close out this long 2 months of previews. Nonetheless, this isn't about those right now. What this is about is this. 2024-25 college football playoff teams that I think can make another run and appear in the 2025-2026 college football playoff. I narrowed this down into a handful of teams, and I put together 7 teams that I think we will see repeat in the playoffs in some form or fashion. Now, understand that I don't particularly agree with all of these, but these are the teams that I think are most likely to do it. I'm going to start with the most obvious and then carry on through. The most obvious team to me is Clemson. They're bringing back entirely too much for me to not sit here and say that Clemson is a top 5 team going into 2025. Cade Klubnik comes back. Garrett Riley returns. They bring back what I would say and argue is the best wide receiver room that they've had in years, probably in the decade. You pair that up with what looks to be an outrageously good defense, now led by Tom Allen as the new defensive coordinator. Clemson is in a great position to maybe go and be back on top of the college football mountain once again. Penn State. They're following the Michigan and Ohio State approach to make the playoffs and be a national champion. Bring back your key players who, I don't want to say didn't want to go to the draft. I mean, Tyler Warren left, Abdul Carter left, and yet Penn State is still a favorite. They went in the transfer portal, addressed their biggest need, which is wide receiver. If those needs and additions end up becoming everything we expect them to, Penn State is dangerous once again. Andy Kotelnicki, we've heard all these things about year 2 coordinators and quarterbacks. This is one of those where I think it's going to open up downfield passes. And then, I mean, we can't act like we didn't hear the news. Jim Knowles, of course, the new defensive coordinator at Penn State. It opens up a big opportunity for the Nittany Lions to maybe make their run as national champions. Notre Dame, I love this team. I really do. I think they're going to have one of the best ground attacks in college football, best running game in the Power Five, potentially. What I don't know is quarterback, CJ Carr. That it all rests on that kid's shoulders, and I hate to do that to somebody so young, somebody going to make their first start in week one. But that is, in fact, where Notre Dame sits right now. It all lands on the shoulders of CJ Carr and what he can do for this team this year. Texas. It seems like this is kind of everybody's favorite right now. I don't know that I particularly agree with them as a favorite, but I do think that they are one of the top 5 teams going into the season. It's all going to depend. Arch Manning over the course of 12 games, is he going to be good over the course of 12? I would say yes. I certainly believe so. I think he'll be a Heisman candidate. Maybe not a finalist, but a candidate. Texas certainly is poised for another run here. I have Ohio State on here. The biggest question for me is Ohio State able to develop yet another quarterback and be a team that jumps into the conversation early. I mean, week one, we're going to find out everything we need to know about both Texas and Ohio State, or at least everything we think we're going to know about both of these teams. Kind of fitting I put them back to back. They play big noon kickoff week one. This game is going to answer a lot of questions, and it's going to bring up a lot more questions, I think, than it's going to answer. But it's going to do a little bit of both. My main question, Brian Hartline, first chance to really call plays. Ryan Day has officially, last year he officially passed it off to Chip Kelly. This year, Brian Hartline, who was expected to be the guy last year, now officially takes over these duties. Does he succeed? I find it hard to believe he won't. He's a great motivator. The players love the guy. I have a hard time believing that Hartline doesn't get it done. The other question, which honestly I have a lot of questions about Matt Patricia as a defensive coordinator. Now, it's helpful when you have a guy like Caleb Downs who's going to come back and be the presumed leader of the defense. But beyond that, I don't know what Matt Patricia will be as a college coordinator. It's a totally different game. We saw Wink Martindale struggle a little bit last year as a guy who came directly from the NFL and has been away from the college game for a while. If he figures it out, Ohio State, right back in the conversation. I think they're going to be. I think this is an obvious playoff pick for me. Georgia. I don't feel overly confident in Georgia. I just don't. And look, they've proven everything to me to make me say, same thing we said about Alabama. As long as Kirby Smart's the head coach, they are a playoff contender. I stand by that statement. I stand by every part of that. What I don't know is the running back room. How's the offensive line going to hold up? What is Gunnar Stockton over the course of 12 games? Kind of the similar story with some of these other teams. And then how is the defense going to kind of bounce back from what was a bit of a shaky season? It's a year that I think we didn't really expect a Georgia defense to be or have. If they can turn all these things around, which it's going to be a bit of an undertaking, but if they can turn all these things around, get back on the right track, and I think they've done a good job of attempting and utilizing the portal, but it's one thing to use the portal, and it's one thing to succeed with it. They do that, they're back in the playoffs. I have them as a playoff team. Currently, I haven't done any of my previews. Don't hold this to me in August, because it's going to change between now and August for sure. Arizona State is a team that I have a lot of confidence in. I love Sam Leavitt. I love their offensive line. I love what they're bringing back a wide receiver. However, the Big 12 is as wide open once again as it ever has been. If you thought last year was insane, this year's probably going to be just as bad, just as crazy, just as many question marks going into the year as we had coming out of it. Arizona State is a team that I love to be a playoff team. I think they would be fantastic to get back to the playoff, especially with the experience of last year and the experience that Kenny Dillingham is now going to have year 3 as the head coach at Arizona State. If we can predict Arizona State back to the playoffs, I think it means a handful of things. One, they're going to be a lot more legit and a lot more proven. Two, Kenny Dillingham, that phone's going to be ringing at the end of the year. But again, I don't know. I think the Big 12, again, is super wide open. It's going to be a tough conference to predict. I don't envy my position later on in this offseason to determine what I think is going to happen. But what I can say is that I'm super excited to get into these predictions because it's going to make me really think about who we're taking and how we're going to go about it. But those are the 7 teams that I think have the best opportunities to make a run back to the playoffs. Now, some people are going to say I'm leaving Oregon out, and I like Oregon. I do. How the only issue I have is we've seen a little bit of Dante Moore, and I haven't seen anything I've loved. And this will technically be the first quarterback that Dan Lanning's staff has to put together themselves, has to develop themselves. Yeah, he spent some time at UCLA, but he spent a year there. And now he's developed for 1 year behind Dylan Gabriel, who, we can say what we want about the leadership there, which I think is good, but they're 2 totally different quarterbacks. I mean, it's not going to translate the way I think people are expecting it to. I'm not saying Oregon's bad. I think Oregon's still a 10 to 12 win team. I just don't know if I trust. I think the floor is a little bit lower for them than it is for these other teams. That's the only thing holding me back right now. The only thing holding me back. And again, once I get the previews, that could change. Maybe I think they are a playoff team. But we'll have to wait and see for that. That's going to be a little bit further down the line. Man, what a week we've had. Dropped a running backs video, wide receivers, tight ends. All of them have been really solid so far. I've enjoyed those lists. But now we get to top 10 offensive line. And I think that this is going to be a little better. I'm going to be a little more confident in this than I was in the tight end video yesterday. I'm going to be honest. I went about that a different way. And I didn't end up loving it. I'm not going to go back and redo it. And I'm certainly not going to go back and try to be revisionist about it. Because that would be fake. Honestly. I mean, let's be real. That'd be fake content. I'm not trying to do that. But today, I think I've got it figured out. This is going to be a bit of a prediction into the future. Because I need some water. Hang on. I'm going to take a quick drink. I apologize. So, this is going to be a bit more of a prediction-based situation than it is going to be a fully based on stats and grades, because I'm doing these as units, as teams. What do they bring back? How much do they bring back? What were they last year? What did I think of them last year as the year went on and as they got towards the end of the season? And how do I think they're going to improve upon that in 2025, being some of the more experienced offensive lines in the country? There are some teams that I'm certain that I likely could have left off as any time, because understand, trying to cover 136 teams, I don't know everybody's team better than their biggest fans do. I don't. The diehard fans are going to have something that they know that I might not. That's okay. Understand that comment section down below is there for a reason. You can go there and you can let me know anything I might be missing, anything I may be overlooking. Let's do it in a respectful way, of course. And I don't care. The words aren't going to hurt me. But let's do it in a respectful way. Let's have these conversations, because the better you help me, the better I can be at informing people of what they should expect from teams going forward this year. I came up with a group of about 13 to 15 teams that I thought were solid. I am going to go through my top 10, and I'm not really going to talk about some of the teams that I did not have in the conversation or that I just left out of the conversation. Only because I feel like this is going to take a little bit, and I don't want to take away from truly helping understand why I feel the way I feel about these teams. With that said, here we go on the top 10. At number 10, I have Texas A&M. And I'm turning the page because, well, to be honest, I have notes on the back side of the page versus the front side of the page, and I'm going to use my graphic on my other screen to walk me through the rankings because I don't remember them off the top of my head since I have too many more to do. Anyways, at number 10, we got Texas A&M. The reason I put A&M at 10, they bring back all 5 starters from the offensive line. Year 2 under Mike Elko tends to always be where the line of scrimmage gets better. And when I say tends to always be, the defensive lines have always improved in year 2. The offensive line at Duke improved in year 2. I have this expectation that, well, let me rephrase that because now that I'm thinking about that, I don't believe Mike Elko actually spent 2 years at Duke. No, he did. He did, and the offensive line did improve. Now the team did not improve. They ended up going 7-5 in that season. I don't know what in the world I was thinking, but the offensive line did improve, and I think that's going to happen again this year. It's going to really help Marcel Reed out a lot, who struggled a little bit in his early part of his career, especially the first few starts. The more experience that comes in from this team, the better. I think they're going to be a pretty good team. I think they're going to be contending as a playoff team themselves. It's going to start on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. I think this O-line is clearly top 10 in the country. At number 9, I got Clemson, and I'm starting to think I might have underrated Clemson. Look, they bring back 4 out of 5. They've got one of the most experienced teams in college football. I love what they have going for them right now. I cannot state it enough how much I really like this team. I can't wait to get to preseason stuff. I can't wait to get to preview this team just because I feel like where I was a couple years ago on these guys, prior to Garrett Riley coming in, is where I am now, except I feel way more confident that it's actually going to happen that way. This is a team I really like. I think 9 might be underrating the world out of this team. At number 8, I got Arizona State. I thought what they were able to do last year, the surprise that they were as a team, it started on the line of scrimmage. They were able to create holes for Cam Scadaboo that created one of the most dynamic running backs in college football last year. But what they were also able to do was protect Sam Levitt and have him be able to get the ball to weapons like Jordan Tyson. It creates a team that is dangerous once again because they bring back 4 out of 5 starters. This Arizona State team, I think, is a top 10 offensive line. At number 7, I got the Miami Hurricanes. I think I underrated Miami a little bit too. I really love what they are on the offensive line. For instance, Malagoa comes back. They bring in Brockermeyer from TCU, a really experienced center that a few years at Alabama, went to TCU, transferring out again, going over to Miami, who return 4 out of 5 starters, or they have 4 out of 5 starters this year, projected starters, that have over a season of experience. It's just a really good team at the line of scrimmage. It's going to really help Carson Beck out. A big reason I had him in the top 10 in my quarterbacks list. I think Miami has a really good shot to maybe be a bit of a surprise team this year. And I don't mean it in the way that we are talking, right? In the way we tend to talk about teams as like surprise teams in their conference. But I think Miami, everybody's expecting them to be good. Everybody's not too sure what to expect from Miami. Especially losing Restrepo, you lose Cam Ward. How do you answer? I think this team is going to surprise some people at how close, and maybe even the fact that they might just be a playoff team. At number 6, I got Alabama. They're bringing back 3 of 5 starters, led by Parker Brailsford. Caden Proctor, of course, coming back to potential first-round offensive line picks. Now, look, I'm not a draft expert, and I will not claim to be, but I think these 2 guys are picking up a lot of steam. They have a good year this year. They might just be first-round offensive linemen. I really like what Bama's been on the offensive line. I think bringing back Ryan Grubb to get back into the DeBoer system, these two guys working together always produces really good offense. And what's been underrated about both of them and what they've done has been the offensive line play. I think it's a really big boost for Alabama. That's why I got them at 6. Penn State goes at number 5, and I talked about it just a few minutes ago when I was talking about college football playoff teams. They brought back everybody, bring back all 5 starters from last year's fantastic group on offense at the line of scrimmage. Penn State is a team, I can't say it enough. I really like. They're following a specific structure we've seen the last 2 years out of the Big Ten champs. Sorry, not the Big Ten champs, but the champions coming from the Big Ten. Penn State has all the tools to be a top 5 offensive line this year. Apparently my dog is trying to drink my water. That's what he's doing over here. I'm sorry, I've been distracted for that Penn State one due to this. Hey, dude. Can we go? My goodness. Okay. It's been a minute since I've been interrupted by a dog on here. Number 4, I got Notre Dame. They, same as everybody else, just a lot of experience. I mean, that's the key here is the experience that we see from all these teams. I think Notre Dame might even have been underrated. I could probably have put them at 2 or maybe even 1 if I really wanted to. Notre Dame is going to be a really good team. It's going to all roll off of how Jeremiah Love is, but the entire running back room and the way that the offensive line is able to protect C.J. Carr. At number 3, Iowa. This is just, again, a team they bring back 4 out of 5. James Dotzler is a guy who is not experienced, but they have a lot of love for early on here after spring. I think that Iowa is going to be I think Iowa's going to be an impressive team this year. Not so much that they are going to go out and win the Big Ten or even be competing for the Big Ten, but I just think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. The offense is changing. Tim Lester has really, he was starting the revamp last year. The way they utilized the portal this year tells me that they are going all in on this spread attack that Tim Lester likes to run. It's going to be a very fun team, but I think the one thing that will stay the same, both sides of the ball, line of scrimmage play, will dominate for the Hawkeyes. Number 2 might be probably the biggest surprise here, and that's Texas. And the reason for that, they bring back 2 out of 5 starters, but everybody's been in this system for a year at minimum. Everybody has had time to develop, and I really trust Steve Sarkisian and his offensive lines. The other thing is, I don't think they're going to put an O-line out there that they don't think can protect Arch Manning. They've been building up for this season. They're a favorite for a reason. I know they lose Kelvin Banks. That's the big loss they had to the draft, but I think they're going to be able to replace it. Maybe not quite as good as Kelvin Banks, but if you can get 4 out of 5 guys playing at a high level, we're talking about a potential championship team. At number 1, I have the Florida Gators. They were top 20 in all grades on PFF, which is what kind of helped me determine who I wanted at number 1. But they're led by center Jake Slaughter, who I think has been a really big, I don't want to call him a captain, but he is the captain of the O-line. He's the just really solid leadership, really solid communication on the line of scrimmage. And as he has been able to take on that role, we've seen them improve, and we saw them improve a lot in 2024. This is a team that people are either really high on or they're just overlooking wholeheartly. I think I'm one of those that's really high on Florida. I like what they're able to do, and again, when they're bringing back, if I'm not mistaken, they're bringing back all 5 starters from 2024. Got to go back to bringing back 4 out of 5 starters from 2024. This is a team that has potential to be dangerous. We talked about DJ Lagway just missing out on my top 10 quarterbacks list. If I was doing a projection on the quarterbacks, he would have probably been top 5. The one thing I will say is you have the connection he has with Eugene Wilson. We're going to see exactly what Florida is from the beginning all the way to the end of the season. They played a tough schedule once again this year, much like they did last year, and they went 8-5 with it. I think there's some potential here for Florida to be a playoff team. I think it's going to start with how they perform on the offensive line. I think it's going to be really good again. Return 4 out of 5, led by Jake Slaughter. That puts Florida at number 1. I will say there were a couple teams that I did leave out of here, and it wasn't because I don't trust them. It's just because their numbers versus the others didn't match up. And when I do find myself having to decide between a couple of players, or in this case, a couple of teams, if I can't decide, I let the numbers decide for me. Iowa State just missed out, but I do like what they have. They bring back a lot on the offensive line. They're a team that I have a lot of hope in to be successful. Again, playoff contenders, Big 12 championship contenders. Michigan brings back a handful of their offensive linemen from last year. The problem was I just never saw the improvement game over game last year. From 1 to 12, you really don't see the improvement. So with that said, Michigan did not make the list. Illinois did not make the list, but they are also a really, really experienced offensive line, just an experienced team as a whole. A lot of people are pulling them. Hey, that's this year's Indiana. It might be. It might be. I love what Brett Bielema is doing. The offensive line will be a big part of that. They just missed out. Let me know who I missed. As always, I'm not afraid to admit wrong or if I missed something. But let me know who I missed or what teams should have at least been considered for this. Let me know who you think out of last year's college football playoff is the most likely to return in 2025. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday, with our top 10 edge rushers going into the season. And let me tell you, it took me a lot. It took a lot of work on this one. I don't know that I got it right. I don't know how confident I am in this list. But I do know that it is going to raise some eyebrows. Not in a bad way. It's going to raise some eyebrows to who should I be focusing on, who should I be paying attention to. And I'm hoping you guys will tune in for it as well. On top of that, tomorrow, what in the world have I wrote down? Oh, that's right. My top 5 coaches in the Power 5 who are on the hot seat as we go into 2025. I'm really excited for that. I think it's going to also raise some eyebrows and maybe make people ask the questions as to why. I thank you guys for tuning in. If you're new here, please leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. We have new episodes, as you can see down in the bottom right, Monday through Friday, weekdays, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can follow me on all my social medias. You can see them on the bottom left here. I'm on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Still trying to figure out the whole TikTok thing, what's going to work, what's not. But once we do, I'll let you guys know that we are officially active over there. No less, I thank you guys. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. And we will see you tomorrow for Top 10 Edge Rushers.